Yes, doctor. Yeah, okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Rotarians and friends, all protocol observed, on behalf of President Bala and members of the Rotary Club of Flacq, I have the pleasure to welcome you all from wherever you are joining us for the October Synergy Rotary Friendship Alliance virtual meeting, live from Mauritius, hosted by the Rotary Club of Flacq, Republic of Mauritius. I am Dev Chamru, past president, and I will be the master of ceremony for this webinar. Before we kick off today's session and introduce you the theme of the day and to our eminent speakers, may I request you all to observe a moment of silence in tribute of late Sri Sushil Kumar Gupta of the Rotary Club of Delhi, Midwest, who left us for his heavenly abode. Late Sri Gupta was a captain of the Indian hotel and tourism industry and was RI's president-elect for the year 2020-2021. He was a proud recipient of RI's prestigious Rotary Award of Honor, Rotary's highest and most respected recognitions. Some of the awardees include Queen Elizabeth II, His Holiness Pope Francis, Bill Gates Jr., and several heads of states and government. The Rotary fraternity the world over join us today to present our deepest sympathy to his family. May his soul rest in peace. Let's observe a moment of silence. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May Mr. Kumar's soul rest in peace. Some housekeeping rules for this webinar. I would request all speakers and moderators to please respect the time allocated. Just to let you know that this session is being recorded and it will be available on YouTube, and we will share you the recording links. You may wish to review it and share it with your friends and network. I will request you all to put your mic on the silent mode, but you can go along with your videos. Please use the chat mode to let us know who you are and kindly leave us your email IDs so we can include you in our newsletter and mailing list. We welcome your active participation through the Q&A session using the chat box of the screen, and send us just questions for both the dialogue as well as our guest speaker session. Ladies and gentlemen, service above self is the motto of Rotary International. This means that we Rotarians put our duty to help others before our own needs by volunteering our time, talents, network, and means to make our community better and to improve the lives of the people in the community. The Synergy Rotary Friendship Alliance is an international network of Rotary clubs from across the continents, from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Maldives, Mauritius, Nepal, Pakistan, Philippines, Singapore, and Sri Lanka for now, and the network is expanding. This event is proudly sponsored by the Alliance. RI President Shekhar Mehta's presidential theme of the year, Serve to Change Lives, captures the very essence of our actions to the community. He adds, and I quote, "Caring for and serving others is the best way to live because it changes not only our people's life, but ours also," end of quote. So ladies and gentlemen, today's session, we will have 4 distinct sessions. The opening ceremony, then there will be the high-level conversation with RI directors Elizabeth Uzovics and Mrs. Uz Kelm. And this session will be moderated by PDG Manoj Bagji. It will be followed by the keynote address by Associate Professor Dr. Sharon Hill. Okay. A few questions begged us immediately. Do we know the needs of our community? Are our actions serving the needs of the community? Do we measure the impact of our service to the community? And finally, how can we serve our community better? To discuss and enlighten us all on serving our community better, we have today assembled a panel of eminent speakers, including top-notch academics, Rotary International personalities, past district governors, district governor, president, and members of different clubs. Ladies and gentlemen, the president and members of the Rotary Club of Flacq wish you all a very meaningful deliberations, and we look forward to receiving your questions and suggestions through the chat box on your screen. Without much ado, I have the pleasure to call upon the president of the Rotary Club of Bala, Krishnasamy Swaminathan, best known as Bala, for his welcome address. President Bala joined the Rotary Club of Flacq in 2010 and has served in different positions. He is presently the loss prevention manager of one of the major real estate companies in Mauritius. He holds an LLB degree and a master's degree in occupation safety and health from British universities. President Bala, up to you for your welcome address, please.
Thank you, Past President Dave. Dear fellow Rotarians and future Rotarians around the world, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. On behalf of all the members of the Rotary Club of Flacq, and on my own behalf, let me thank you for joining us on this Synergy Rotary Friendship Alliance webinar. The theme for today is serving the community better, and we have chosen very eminent speakers on the subject. And I'm certain that you will enjoy the next 1.5 hours or so in our midst. The famous writer Mark Twain has said, and I quote, "Mauritius was made first and then heaven, and heaven was copied after Mauritius," unquote. Very flattering, isn't it? Mauritius is a small island in the Indian Ocean with very strong links to the other surrounding islands and countries in Africa and the Asian subcontinent. We have a multicultural population of 1.3 million inhabitants that cohabits together beautifully. So much so that we are cited as an example to the world. The tourism sector is one of the strong pillars of our economy, thanks to our beautiful beaches and, more importantly, our very hospitable population. Like everywhere around the world, Rotary plays a very important role in the community. In Mauritius, we are 25 clubs with a total of 613 Rotarians in the Rotary District 9220. This year, we have a Mauritian District Governor, Dinesh Gajili, whom you will have the pleasure to listen to in a few minutes. The Rotary Club of Flacq is in the eastern part of the island and was created in 2002. To date, the club has 33 passionate and dedicated professionals from different fields of life. We are engaged in a variety of community projects, ranging from providing meals to needy school children to holding mega health days for the community, from provision of water in Rodrigues Island to setting up a library in rural India, from cleaning rivers to setting up plastic collection bins, from organizing educational and job fairs for school leavers to running adult literacy courses for our senior citizens, from awareness and screening of non-communicable diseases to holding forums on legal issues surrounding the legal profession. The launch of our recent landmark project, La Main de l'Espoir, in collaboration with the University of Mauritius, is set to become a cornerstone of our club's mission. Through this project, and thanks to our collaborators, we provide free prosthetic arm to people who have lost a limb to recover the functionalities of their arms. We are also in the process of expanding the program's outreach to the region, more particularly to Madagascar, Comoros, and Seychelles. This is our way of serving to save lives. Once again, thank you for joining us today and for listening to me. I wish you all a pleasant and very instructive webinar. I will see you again at a later stage. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bala, for your setting the scene speech. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to call upon the district governor for the district 9220, which covers 6 countries, District Governor Dinesh Gajali. Dinesh joined the Rotary Club of Grand Bay in 2000 and went in to serve as president for the year 2003-2004. He is Mr. Innovation and the one who set up the first e-club in Mauritius in 2012 and the first Rotary Satellite Club in 2018. Over the last 2 decades, DG Dinesh has helped set up 6 Rotary clubs in Mauritius, 5 Rotaract clubs, 2 Interact clubs, and 1 Rotary Community Corps. He has served both at the district as well as the zone levels. DG Dinesh is one of our young entrepreneurs in the field of advertising and communication. He is married to Lady Radha, and they both deeply engaged in serving the community. As DG Dinesh is taken up with another Rotary functions, we're going to play you his recorded speech that he has handed to us. Dr. Sundar, up to you, please.
Many thanks, President Bala, for including me in this laudable initiative around Synergy Alliance when we are to talk about serving the community better. I'm very pleased to be able to welcome you all in District 9220, especially in Mauritius, where today we are talking about on this theme, which is so appealing to all of us as Rotarians. Had it not been for COVID-19, maybe such type of initiatives would not have been possible. And this shows the capacity of Rotarians, of we all Rotarians across the world, to adapt and to adjust and to make things happen, finding solutions and bringing also all Rotarians as far as possible together to find solutions, but also to share great values and to share great moments together. We are blessed today to have a wonderful panel. We'll be talking about serving the community better. And the theme of today, of course, is so much linked with what we do in everyday life as Rotarians, and also is so much linked with the theme of the year, as President Sheikh Ahmed has put it, serve to change lives. All this relates to the service which we are here to provide, not only across the world, in our communities, but also in ourselves. And this, of course, brings us to our vision statement. When we talk about vision statement, of course, we talk also about our values. We talk about the mission and the object, why we are Rotarian and why our organization exists and continues to evolve and move forward. We are blessed to have a great panel, but beyond that, I would also seize this opportunity to guide you, if possible, to think even deeper in the importance of connections. When we talk about serving the community better, no one can do it alone. And it's thanks to our belonging to an organization that's not only local, that's not only regional, that's really global, that we manage to make things better.
Thank you, DG Dinesh. With this one, we end the ceremonial session, and we will definitely pass on everybody's greetings to DG Dinesh. Ladies and gentlemen, one of our main components of the community that we endeavor to serve is the youth. And in the youth, we also have the child girl. And President Mehta has made it a priority of empowering the child girl. We would like to present you an excerpt of his speech on empowering the child girl. Dr. Sundar, up to you, please.
Friends, to live for others, to care for others, to serve others and change their lives is the best way to live our own lives. Just as Albert Einstein said, only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. And friends, as we go about our service initiatives, our special focus this year will be on empowering girls. One of Rotary's core values is diversity. We have a public statement that outlines our belief in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is important that we empower the girl, as we all find that more often than not, the girl is disadvantaged. We will serve all children, but our focus will be especially on the girl. There are many issues that the girls face in different parts of the world, and you as leaders will ensure that we try and mitigate the disadvantage of the girl that they may have.
That sets the tone now for the big discussion, the conversation with two RI directors. May I now invite Rotarian Anusha from the Rotary Club of Flacq to introduce the moderator, please.
Thank you, VP Dave. Our next session will be a conversation panel on empowerment of the girl child. The panel will be moderated by PDG Manoj Bhakti, and we are going to hear from two eminent speakers, Rotary International Directors Urs Clem and Elizabeth Yusufix. PDG Manoj Bhakti studied in France in the field of agribusiness and business management. After holding several positions of responsibilities in various institutions for some 25 years, He is now the president of the Foundation Resources and Nature, which offers expertise and funding to civil society actors in the field of sustainable development. PDG Manage is a trainer and coach for CEOs, executive committee members, as well as company board members. He was inducted into Rotary Club of Port Louis Citadel in 2000. He was the club president from 2004 to 2005. From 2006 to 2017, he has been the district officer in charge of training for 8 years in public relations. During the year 2017 to 2018, he was the governor of District 9220. Since then, he has been the district membership chair. From 2018 to 2020, he was also Assistant Rotary Coordinator for District 9220. PDG Manoj is married to Bina, and they are both holders of the PHF. PDG Manoj, the floor is yours to open up the panel.
Thank you, Rotarian Anusha. Dear Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen, we have in our midst, and thank you to both, Rotary International Directors Elizabeth Yusevich and Urs Clem, to converse on one of the themes so dear to our Rotary International President Shekhar Mehta, empowerment of girl child. Just a word on logistics. If any of you from the audience have any questions for our conversationers, do please write them in the chat, and the Rotary Club of Flacq leaders will sort them and flag them to us at the end of the conversation. Let me now introduce our two learned Rotary leaders. Elizabeth Yusevich. Elizabeth is a Rotary International Director for the years 2021-2023 for zones 30 and 31. She is an innovative entrepreneur, web columnist, and 23-year member of the Rotary Club of Kansas City Plaza, Missouri, United States. After having developed her leadership skills in companies such as Deloitte and Kellogg's, Elizabeth founded Whitespace Consulting, a management consulting practice focused on business coaching, strategy, and market insights. She also served as Associate Director of International Programs at Bentley University and taught at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. Moreover, she has served as a volunteer mentor and advisor through MIT's Growth Mentoring Services program. Elizabeth speaks Spanish and French and spent nearly 10 years in Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Her personal tagline is, "The power of we is within us all." Her 20-year passion in Rotary is supporting orphans and at-risk children in Malawi, Africa. She has written 10 Rotary Foundation grants in support of children in Malawi and led a vocational training team there in 2016. A strong supporter of youth programs, Elizabeth is an advocate for the Rotary and Rotrac partnership. She has been recognized at the White House as Rotary Women of Action Honorary. She is a recipient of the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service and has twice received the United States President's Volunteer Service Award. She currently chairs the Empowering Girls Task Force created by Rotary International President Shekhar Mehta. Elizabeth grew up in the Boston area in Massachusetts. She has a strong appreciation for her Lithuanian heritage. She and her husband, Dean Matthewson, are both major donors, Paul Harris Society members, Bequest Society members, and benefactors of the Rotary Foundation. Our second conversationer is Urs Clem. Urs is also a Rotary International Director, 21-23, and comes from Rotary Club of Aarau, Switzerland. Urs Clem studied business engineering and food chemistry and has a doctorate in physical chemistry. He built up the environmental protection division of a Swiss engineering company where he worked on national and international projects, including the construction of the longest railroad tunnel through the Alps and improving the water supply in a county of Hungary. Urs was responsible for food safety in Switzerland as vice director of the Swiss Federal Office of Public Health from 1996 to 2007 when he retired. As head of the Swiss delegation of the Codex Alimentarius Commission, an initiative of the FAO of the United Nations and the World Health Organization that promotes international food safety, Urs led a project that defined a standard for bottled water. As the Commission's European coordinator, he carried out projects promoting food hygiene in Central Asia and Africa. Since joining Rotary in 1994, Urs Clem has served as a Council on Legislation representative, Assistant Regional Rotary Foundation Coordinator, and Endowment Major Gifts Advisor. He co-founded the Swiss Rotary Foundation, which generates more than $1 million in annual donations, and the Rotarian Peace Projects Incubator that aims to identify and activate peace projects. He has launched activities of several Rotary action groups in Switzerland and still supports them. A member of 2 Rotary fellowships, skiing and sailing. Urs leads hikes for the Swiss Alpine Club, plays piano, and studies literature. He and his wife, Helen, who is also Rotarian, support the Rotary Foundation as major donors and members of the Bequest Society. Thank you again to both of you. Well, now that we've been properly introduced, let's start. Rotary International Director Elizabeth Yuzovich, you are this year the chair of the Rotary International's Empowering Girls Initiative Task Force. Could you brief us on the role of that task force and bring us to date with this initiative?
Yes, thank you very much, PDG Manaj. And I appreciate this invitation from the Rotary Club of Flacq very much. The Empowering Girls Initiative, as you heard in the video clip from President Shaker, is a club and district level service opportunity. And it has been intentionally designed to encourage Rotary and Rotaract club members and leaders, as well as district leaders, to participate in service projects that focus on the health, the education, the safety, the well-being and economic development of the girls of our world. And so President Shaker has very much focused this on the club level. And our host tonight, or today, Dev, mentioned one of the questions around needs. Do we know the needs of our community? And one of the reasons that President Shaker has really focused this project at the club level and the local level is because clubs do have the means and the network in their communities to understand those needs and meet those needs for the benefit of girls. And it is therefore much more than just an awareness of the needs of girls. It is a call to action to all Rotary and Rotaract clubs and districts to participate in these projects to benefit the girls of our world who do face many challenges. And as you mentioned, the focus on youth, the focus on children, all children matter. And within that context, girls have some very special and very specific challenges that they must face. And we as Rotarians have an opportunity and also a call to help them. So that is the basic framework of the Empowering Girls Initiative. And in September of 2020, President Shaker formed a task force, and both Urs and I serve on that task force, and I chair it. And the specific role of the task force is to see that this project is implemented, encourage clubs through the ambassadors that we have in each region, in each zone across the world, who are charged with helping clubs to identify the resources that they need for projects, to encourage them to participate, and also to list their projects on Rotary Showcase so that we can begin to assess the impact and the outcomes of those projects that we are initiating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, Rotary International Director, Urs Clem, RI President Shekhar Mehta stated that around the world, girls are disadvantaged and discriminated against. It's a fact. 60% of chronically hungry people are women and girls. 2/3 of the world's illiterate people are women. Less than 20% of the world's landholders are women. How do you feel about that?
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the possibility to express our opinion about these questions. In fact, it's a tragedy and an injustice that girls are still disadvantaged all over the world. But we have to avoid arrogance. In the past in Switzerland, we had also completely different understanding of the roles of boys and girls, men and women. And I think we still are not at the end of the development to have justice and equal rights. I have experience in Switzerland that the establishment of efficient business enterprises and companies in rural areas brought about a real turnaround. So it shows that we can do something. We know what we can do. It's not that it's impossible. We have a lot of examples where we can act. And the biggest time push was in times when women's labor had to be resorted to. So I want to, if we want to achieve something, we need a complete sustainable development, not fine words. And I'm happy that this project has been launched, because in Rotary, with our areas of focus, with our foundation, with our expertise, we really have the possibility to do something. We shouldn't wait until tomorrow. We have to act now. Our future is now. So let's start with it and not just simply look at the situation.
Thank you, Director. Well, Director Elizabeth, one of the ways of empowering girls should be, according to our president, by improving age, grade, appropriate learning, e-learning, and skill development. How do you think Rotary in general, and specifically Rotary clubs, could make that happen?
Mm-hmm. That is a key element, and all of the data that is provided by our partner organizations in Rotary, such as the World Bank, UNICEF, the United Nations, and others, all indicate that education is the key for girls and women to advance in their societies and in their cultures. And so that is a very strong thread throughout this particular initiative. There is also a very clear tie to water in many parts of the world and education. And the United Nations and the World Bank also have statistics on this. 800, or rather 200 million hours a day is calculated that girls and women around the world are taking time to collect water. And obviously, if you are spending 6 to 8 hours of your day and you're a 10-year-old girl, you don't have time to go to school. So there is a very strong connection between water and education for girls, even within schools. Gender segregated facilities for bathrooms and being able to manage hygiene are critical for girls. So a Wash in Schools program, a water and sanitation project in schools, is an excellent example of how education in some parts of the world can have a significant effect on the well-being of girls, and it's an ideal project for empowering girls. Other examples around the world, and this is why this project is, and this program is so key to a local club and to the expertise within that community. Because what is relevant for girls and a strong need for girls in one part of the world may be very different from another part of the world. For example, where I live in Kansas City, which is almost the geographic center of the United States and about 500 miles southwest of Chicago and Evanston, where Rotary headquarters are, human trafficking, girls trafficking, is a significant issue. And it doesn't look, if you look at communities on the surface, that doesn't look to be a huge factor. And yet educating girls and making them aware of how they can avoid trafficking is a huge issue here. Another issue here is the lack of girls who are entering science, education, technology, and engineering or STEM careers. And so a program that focuses on encouraging girls to do that is also one of the ways that a club can focus on education. Skills development in some communities, financial literacy, or just personal finances and how to manage them, how to open a bank account, how to manage a small amount of money is an ideal project, or an entrepreneurship program. Self-defense is one of the types of programs as well that President Shaker has emphasized that can be done for girls. So there are a range of ways that education is the key to improving the lives of girls, and not only their lives, but their families' lives and their communities' lives, because when they are educated and they are productive, then the entire community benefits.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. So as the conversation is shaping up, Director Urs, empowering girls seems to be the right thing to do. What would be the consequences if we did not empower girls around the world?
Well, very elementary, we would accept a blatant violation of human rights in the future, which is not acceptable. But one can also look at the question from the point of view of our motto, one profits most who serves best. Because girls are the mothers of tomorrow and the pillars of the future society. By promoting them, we contribute to a self-determined life, and thus we enable to lead them more economic value creation and the benefit of all. A World Bank study shows that at least $80 billion are lost every year in developing countries with unqualified work of girls and unqualified education. So I think it's a real profit if girls can play a more important, as a future, women can play a more important role in economy. We can contribute to the sustainable population development. Experience shows that the population growth is reduced as income and education levels rise. And if women are self-determined how many babies they will have, I think the birth rate will decrease and the benefit of the whole society will increase. At present, if the birth rate goes on, we have to build a city in the size of New York every month for the increasing population, and think on climate change and also affects its size. So I think it's really a key question that we can control this development. And finally, also maternal mortality is, from my point of view, completely unacceptable. 800 women die per day as by the birth giving and pregnancy. And in addition to these personal tragedies, it has implications for the stability of societies. I think early pregnancies and high numbers of children are one cause. And so if we don't educate the girls, we have early marriages, we have early pregnancies, we have uncontrolled development of the population growth. Therefore, I think we have a lot of disadvantages if we do nothing at all. And so if we do not empower girls, we accept on one hand ongoing injustice, which is not acceptable, and we forego a sustainable development. So therefore, it's a call to action. Let's start as soon as possible or increase our efforts in this domain.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Urs. Dear friends from the audience, please remember to use the chat to put your questions to our guests. As we approach the end of this exchange, Director Elizabeth, could you remind us what are the actions Rotarians can take to make empowering girls a reality?
Yes, first and foremost is to take that call to action to heart very seriously, and to connect with non-governmental organizations in your community, whether that is a United Nations office or UNICEF if there is a presence, or another non-governmental organization that is already working with girls and has the expertise. Second is to look at the presidential initiatives page on My Rotary. And on that page, you can simply search on Rotary Presidential Initiatives, and that page will come up. And there are 6 resources for clubs and districts who would like to engage in empowering girls. And it includes a brochure that also has a menu of the types of service opportunities that a club can engage in. So that can be very helpful. It is also very helpful to connect with the Rotary action groups. We surveyed through the task force, we surveyed the Rotary action groups last year to identify how many of them were interested in or already doing projects that, that empowered girls. And 26 of them were already doing projects. So there are some Rotary knowledge experts that can be helpful to clubs. Peace Fellows can also be very helpful, as can the Rotary Foundation cadre that your Rotary Foundation district chair or regional coordinator can put you in touch with. Those are the most important. And to start to identify those needs in your own community that can help girls to become engaged and active and productive future citizens of your community. And also look on the Rotary Showcase at the Empowering Girls campaign. That's where clubs are entering their projects. That's where clubs are looking for partner clubs to do a project that empowers girls. And that can be very helpful for us for generating ideas and for making connections. Because as President Shaker said to the district governors-elect last year at the International Assembly, the girls of the world are waiting for you. And so the real question for all of us is, what are we waiting for? All we have to do is reach out in our communities, and we can make a significant difference in the lives of girls.
Thank you, thank you. A last word from you, Director Urs, as we bring this conversation to a close. And before we take questions from the audience, what would you say to Rotarians and Retractors to get them up and going towards empowering girls?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think there is a need of change of mentality. There's a need of a clear acknowledgement that there are not 2 classes of human beings in regard of human rights. And I think this applies to everyone, even to women. If I look around, girls and women are disadvantaged, and in many regions, the human rights are selectively applied. It even concerns unborn girls because families prefer boys, and there's the first discrimination, so these girls are not born at all. I think this change of mentality also opens the eyes to see the need of action in the different regions. I think every region has its own priorities, as you have to recognize them. In Switzerland, we also have discriminated girls in different parts of the population. So therefore, we have to sensitize our view and to identify where we can get active. And I think we can do it better than anybody else, because our organization realized in 1906 that Rotary in itself cannot be a group of happy people if not the environment is also has happy conditions. Therefore, we have to look around for all parts of the populations in the sin of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in particular of the girls, for the points we already mentioned. And our principal service above self, our huge potential of network expertise and finances, the realization that the progress benefits everyone and that these actions are very satisfying and involved. I think this has all motivating effect to take action and to go into this issue. We have on the website of the presidential initiatives published a flyer, and there you find a big menu card of different activities which you can start education, hygiene, menstrual hygiene, water, better nutrition. We have a big project in India at the moment for better nutrition, as is the development of small economies, so that girls have the possibility to develop their own economic independence and self-determined lives, and so on. I think there is a really big choice of action and activities, and we, with our Rotarian network and expertise, can really do a good prevention. We don't have to prevent the world from ending up, but we have to continue the success story we write for years. I think we have made a lot of progress in the past, so we have learned profit from the lessons learned to apply it to the girls' empowerment in the next decades, and I hope we have a lot of success. And good luck for us and for all the girls who profit from our activities.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Urs. Well, dear members of the audience, we've had a fair insight into the theme of empowering girls with Elizabeth and Urs, both Rotary International Directors, both on the task force, as they shared with us. I dare say we have an accurate understanding of the issue today. Let's see what other questions that popped up to your minds concerning empowering the girl child. So the Rotary Club of Flacq team is working intensely. The first question, Elizabeth or us, whoever would like to answer to that, there seems to be still much scope to educate, raise awareness, and accommodate with womanhood and women's health. Would you like to elaborate on that? Perhaps Urs.
Well, I think education is really a basic point. In Rotary, we have basic education, but studies show that the secondary stage education is even more important. And so I think we have to reflect about whether we can enlarge this field of activities, because the secondary stage education opens afterwards the way to the professional life. It avoids early marriages and early pregnancies, and is very decisive. There is a big study of the World Bank which clearly shows advantages of this point. And in the health domain, I think we have also to be open-minded. For instance, menstrual health is absolutely crucial for the girls, that they can go to school. And therefore, there is now an action group for menstrual health and hygiene. And we have also to support the girls in this domain, a part of the health education and the education of family planning, and that all has to be included. I don't know, Elizabeth, perhaps you have to add something?
Well, I agree with you, Urs, and I think that the new action group for menstrual health and hygiene will be very much a catalyst in this area for Rotary's activities. And that action group, as well as other clubs and other districts throughout Rotary, are really focused on that issue, because reproductive health is very much a key. And the earlier we begin that awareness and education, and the more that Rotary clubs can be, and Rotary members can be, a catalyst for helping those organizations and networks and communities to deliver those programs, that can make a very significant difference. Some of the disposable or the reusable pad projects that many clubs are doing also include a component of vocational training, where making the pads is also part of that project. There, again, that is a link with water, because in order to use those reusable pads, you need a source of water. And you also need those facilities in schools. So much of this is very much tied to the situation within a school and that reproductive education. And again, I think that the action groups of water and sanitation and menstrual health and hygiene are working very closely together, and they are a huge resource for clubs and for districts. as we address those issues globally.
Thank you both. We have a quite sensitive question here. So Director Elizabeth mentioned about trafficking of girls in the USA. Could you elaborate? Is that a universal problem, and how can Rotarians help solve this problem?
I'm certainly not a global expert, and I would not position myself as a global expert, but in terms of the statistics, 70% of human trafficking victims globally are young women and girls. And fully 20% of those victims are girls under the age of 16. So I would say it, yes, is a very pervasive issue. And as I mentioned, in the city where I live, it is a crossroads of transportation between highways, railroads, and primarily highways and railroads. And so these crossroads metropolitan areas, there can be a significant issue with this. One of the two ways I think that Rotary can begin to address this is by working with organizations that help first the recovery of trafficking victims. And there are many organizations that are now starting to form in communities around the world, where they may be connected, programs may be connected with other non-governmental organizations that specifically address human trafficking. But again, rehabilitation and reintroducing those victims to become productive members of the community is an important element. And that's where some of the skills that we talked about previously, vocational skills, entrepreneurship skills, financial literacy skills, those kinds of skills can help human trafficking victims to now become productive members of the community. There is also, I think, a very strong need to educate young girls and make them aware of the signs of trafficking, how to protect themselves as much as possible. And I think Rotary has a very strong role in creating that awareness with partnering with schools, partnering with non-governmental organizations to deliver that kind of awareness in their communities. It is, yes, a global issue, and one that significantly affects girls and young women.
Lots of issues, lots of discussions, lots of programs and plans of actions. I think this is a very good question of our actual times. Ladies and gentlemen, Rotary family members, time constraint. So I would propose that we put our hands together virtually for our exceptional Rotary International Directors, Elizabeth Uzovic and Urs Clem, for this amazing conversation. And thank you all for your engagement. God bless and long live Rotary.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, PDG Manoj. Thank you, Directors Elizabeth and Urs. Thank you for taking time off your Sunday to talk to us. To all the questions that we have not been able to answer, the Rotary Club of Flacq takes the initiative to put forward the same questions to the two speakers. We will get their answers and post it on our Facebook account so that you can follow the discussions going forward. It's been a great debate, a lot of avenues for clubs all around the world to focus on some of the actions that go towards empowerment of the child girl. Thank you guys for enlightening us, thank you for showing us avenues in which Rotary clubs can engage. Okay, and we would wish to engage with you people in coming up with more programs going forward. Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the second phase of our discussion today. We now go to the third one, which is a conversation or a keynote speech by an eminent academician, Professor Sharon Hill, who is now in the USA, early morning, having a breakfast and coffee. And I'll ask Rotary and Anusha to introduce us. Dr. Hill, please, Rotary and Anusha.
Thank you, BP Dave. Tonight, I have the immense pleasure and privilege to introduce to you the keynote speaker of this evening, Dr. Sharon Hill, someone whom I have had the privilege to know personally. Dr. Sharon Hill is a clinical associate professor in the Andrew Young School of Policy Studies at the Georgia State University. She has 30 years of experience in government and nonprofit leadership combined with 15 years of teaching in 3 distinguished universities in the US. Dr. Hill currently serves as the academic director for the Mandela Washington Fellowship for Young African Leaders. In this role, she is responsible for developing and implementing a 6-week Public Management Leadership Institute for 25 to 30 individuals from various parts of the African continent. To date, she has worked with 130 young individuals from 41 African countries. Dr. Hill is a strong believer in community service. Her community service work includes serving on the Board of Trustees and Board of Directors for the Multi-Agency Alliance for Children, just to name a few. She served as a mentor in Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, as well as provided routine service to Meals on Wheels, as well as the University for Parents and other institutions. Dr. Hill received her PhD in Public and Urban Administration from the University of Texas. She also holds a Master of Public Administration, a Master in Guidance and Counseling, as well as a Bachelor in Psychology from Delta State University in Cleveland. Tonight, we're going to hear from Dr. Hill on a very interesting topic, the challenges which one may face in doing community service. Dr. Hill, the floor is yours. Let's hear you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All protocols established. I am absolutely honored to have been invited to participate in this great event. And I will say, first off, we are having some inclement weather in my area. So hopefully everything holds up throughout and there's not too many changes. Okay, we're there. Okay, I will say we're having some inclement weather here, so I'm noticing my Zoom is going in and out. We can get started. Everybody can hear me?
Yes, please.
I want to start out with the my agenda for today, talking about the importance of community services, the challenges, possible solutions to those challenges, because we can't lay out the challenges without providing the hope around how those challenges can be resolved and some examples of them. As we've stated already before, your voice is really important here. So we want you to continue to type into the chat box. Let us know what you think. And so I'm going to move on and starting with the importance of community services. You know, the distinguished and just one of my heroes, Mr. Kofi Annan said, if our hopes of building a better and safer world are to become more than wishful thinking, we will need the engagement of particularly volunteers more than ever. So my focus this morning is going to be quite a bit around volunteers and their impact on community service, because we depend on them. So the importance of community service, it creates thriving communities. You know, as I listened to the, discussion on the empowerment of girl children, we can't live in a world where there's not inclusion and participation and acknowledgement of everyone. So we need community services to ensure that our communities are operating optimally. Community services also allows us to leverage additional resources. Now, one of the things here in the US we struggle with, like other places, is that sometimes governmental support and resources is not fully available. So we have to utilize, resources from the community. We also seek to engage residents in the community, bring them to the table. We must create this continuous community feedback loop in which we're constantly hearing the voices of the people we serve. Community services also encourages us to understand and want to understand it better, things that are happening. So some of the central questions I hear from particularly my students sometimes is, what's in it for me? People have to answer that question in order to continue, I think, sometimes to have the fervor, the passion to go through with it. But community service is personally fulfilling. It's a career builder. I often have my students participating in volunteer projects and reflecting on those experiences to build their resume. It enhances social skills, deepens the core values that we all hold. Some of the values that have already, been talked about this morning. And it certainly sharpens leadership skills and broadens out the networks and connections for people. So as we are moving along, I want to again hear from you in the chat box. Type in, why is community service important to you? Because I want you to be engaged and reflecting on what we're talking about, but why is community service important to you? Because sometimes we need to be able to articulate why it's important to us as we move forward with bringing others into it. And also like this quote from someone, I'm not sure who it was, said, if you want to touch the past, touch a rock. If you want to touch the present, touch a flower. If you want to touch the future, touch a life. And that's what community service is about, touching lives. I want to now just move to speaking of some of the challenges in community services. One, understanding and prioritizing the needs of the community. Project management skills are necessary. And I often hear from people about volunteer recruitment and retention. And then just staying energized. So first off, I want to talk about understanding and prioritizing the needs of the community. And I love the question, the president started with, do we know the needs of the community? And I will say that the needs of the community are constantly changing. And individuals and issues within the community are changing. We can see that over the past year and a half of dealing with COVID. New issues have cropped up related to that, particularly, the disproportionate effect that COVID has had on some communities. But we have to continuously be appropriately, assessing the needs of the community and engaging stakeholders, in that work. Second challenge that I have found is project management skills. Sometimes I've spoken with people and they want to volunteer and do good work, but we must also combine our passion with knowledge of how to move from the planning stage to the implementation stage. Being able to develop these SMART goals, first of all, being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound goals for what we're trying to do. Communicating the plan to the community stakeholders as well as others, the intentional implementation process. I said that we can make beautiful plans, but if we don't implement them well, they will fall apart. Then we have to monitor those plans. It was a question posed this morning about, do we know the impact of our actions? And this is why we have to continuously monitor the plan so that we can adjust them as needed in order to be able to measure the impact of our work. A third challenge is always volunteer recruitment. Having been the chair of a couple of organizations and working as in those organizations too, I know that, first of all, we need people to do the work. People are our greatest asset, but oftentimes finding the right people for the uh, what's needed can be difficult. We don't always specify the qualities we're looking for, and sometimes we're not specific about the skills needed. There's a come one, come all. I've been in that situation where I needed bodies to help with the work and didn't focus as much as I should on the skill sets that was really needed. We also have to be mindful about engaging with diverse populations, of individuals, and not overlooking people because of any implicit bias or unconscious bias we may have. Uh, Fourth challenge, volunteer retention. Once we have people on board, how do we keep them engaged? And I'm looking at this from the two perspectives: reasons for poor volunteer retention. From an organizational perspective, we say that, people can be unreliable, no shows, they don't show up for meetings or may not show up for activities. Volunteers having limited time, people are working and other things to do, lack of commitment, difficulty in coordinating schedules of people. Then, as I listen to volunteers, they talk about, I stopped volunteering for the organization because there was inadequate training. They just put us out there. I was not sure what I was supposed to do. They were not engaged enough with the leadership of the community service organization. They didn't feel a part of it. The lack of communication led to a disconnection and people becoming uninterested. And then sometimes there were those unmet expectations. Volunteers coming aboard with their own notions of what they're trying to get out of it and it not being met. And often that was because either we didn't ask the questions of them or they did not provide us with sufficient information about what they were seeking. And then lastly, a great challenge often is just staying energized, maintaining the passion that you had when you started with the work. But this quote by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And as was stated earlier, giving back to the community is the best way to live your life. So in those times when you need to be energized or refocused, having Rotarians that you can call upon to say, stay in there, we are fighting a noble fight. So those were, some of the challenges that I have experienced. There have been some others, of course, but again, we want to hear from you. Type in the chat box some of the issues and concerns that you may have experienced or heard about that creates challenges for us in doing the good work that we want to do. I'm going to move on. And as I stated earlier, you can't put the challenges on the table without talking about solutions, because I'm a believer that for every challenge, there is a solution. And one of the things that I encourage organizations to do is to start out by creating some kind of engagement strategy. You have to be really, again, intentional about the work that you're doing. So your strategy has to include some kind of recruitment plan. How will you be bringing people on board? How are you going to reach them? And then once you have them, you need to establish some kind of onboarding process for them and cultivate those relationships. So with the recruitment plan, think about creating a list of all possible opportunities. How do you bring people into the pipeline, whether it's, going to high schools and talking to children early on about what they can be doing. Partnerships with schools, churches. Again, in my courses, I teach in public management, public policy. I generally have my students do volunteer work during the semester. But we are always looking for good projects for our students. Use the networks that you have. I have been around people and was not aware that they were involved in certain things, and until later. And you know, you never said anything about it, but you should be talking within your network about volunteer opportunities again, and also focus on diversity. As we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we need to go beyond our comfort zone and bringing people in. Also, develop a formal system to monitor and track your plans. You know, do you have, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, that's what I have used in the past, just listing and asking people that I know in my network to give me names and contacting people and creating this volunteer persona to target the people that you are seeking. And the volunteer persona is just your list of the skills that you're needing from people, whether it's data management, you know, people who are creative, people who are event planners, but determine what skills is it that you need for the project that you're working on. Onboarding plan, again, very important for volunteer recruitment, that when people come on board to work with you, there has to be some way of orienting them to the work so that they understand what your goals are and clarifying expectations that you have, as well as understanding what their expectations are, so that you know, we can have this mutually agreeable understanding of what the work is. Seek to understand why people are coming on board. You know, we can do this in all kinds of fun games or whatever, but getting to know people and what it is that they are seeking, creating a support system for them. You know, in some of the work that I've done in volunteering, I have felt almost alone in the work. And, you know, but setting up a system for people to be able to contact others to get support when they need. And also as, you know, community leaders and others, letting people know that you are available to meet with them. All of this leads on to relationship building. And again, connecting with your people, maintaining this consistent and ongoing communications. If there's nothing happening, emailing, calling people to see how they're doing, what's going on, keeping volunteers engaged in the work, sending, you know, resources about what's happening within the area that you're focused on is always important. It builds their skills. Also creating some kind of award or recognition program. We found that that was really helpful in keeping people engaged, because then they could take those awards or recognitions and share them on their social media page. But also the social media perspective is really important, and asking people who are doing work with you to share stories about their successes, to reach within their friend circle to pull people in. Uh, we also have to be available to participate in events that people who are volunteering with us are doing, so that they know, again, that this is a mutual relationship. And oftentimes you go to an event that they're hosting outside of yours, you may find new volunteers, new stakeholders, and also seeing your volunteers as ambassadors. And I love that word, I heard it earlier, but there are your ambassadors, your advocates, and the champions for your program. And as I end mine, I want to leave you with, you know, examples of two organizations here in the Atlanta area that has done just a tremendous job of bringing in volunteers and keeping them engaged. And I've noted their websites here: Hands On Atlanta, and another organization called Volunteer Match. And actually, yeah, something happened with my slides, but with the Hands On Atlanta, you can go on that site and find out about all of the volunteer opportunities in the Atlanta area and sign up for them. It's listed according to the your skill sets, according to the areas that you are interested in. Volunteer Match is in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and a very similar site that reaches people. So I know I went through that pretty quickly in the interest of time, But again, I have just really enjoyed this opportunity to speak with you all, and look forward to any questions that you have. And my information is in the chat box. So if you need to reach out to me after this, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hill. That was really very, very impressive and very exciting as well for us. Thank you for sharing early morning Sunday talk. It's like going to the church, huh? That's
yes, it is.
Okay, we do have some questions from our listeners from all over. And one of the questions that comes along very strong is you keep on asking people to seek volunteers to help. If we were to look at youth, how do we engage them to volunteer when they themselves have so many problems of their own? How can we reach out to that latent asset of our community?
Yes, and you know what, and it is really important, I think, to reach out to individuals who are part of vulnerable populations. As here, particularly in the Atlanta area, and I worked in Chicago, going into those communities and letting them understand that even though they are in dire situations, they are also meant to have purposeful lives. And, the best way sometimes to build your own life is to give to others. So I think teaching youth this notion of giving back to the community and, back to what's in it for me, and setting up projects, that youth can participate in, even elementary school aged youth. Because if you have, young kids around young kids, you ask them, do anybody want to do? And everybody's hand goes up. So they are always, I think, kids are seeking to be involved. And when I mentioned going beyond, what we are comfortable with and diverse populations, getting them involved in solutions to their own problems and starting that early is important.
Yeah. We also seen, Doctor, that very often the volunteers who engage early in life in doing good to the society, to the community, they actually, as the age goes up, they sort of take a sidetrack or take a step back. We're not able to maintain that momentum for them to engage continuously with the community. How can we move that forward?
And that's something we certainly, again, have to be really intentional of. And as we start to see that happening, reaching out to people to understand what's going on and why that momentum is decreasing. And it may be that they are not seeing where whatever we're doing is on their level or a part of what their interest is. I have had to pivot quite a bit as time is going on, and understanding that I can't continue to think like, do like I did, 10 years ago. It may have worked at that time, but as people are constantly changing, new information is coming. So I think it's about listening to people and really reaching back out to find out what's going on that's causing you, to lose the momentum. And again, I can give you an example of the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
I remember having, individuals who kind of pulled back, and it was because they did not see where sufficient work was being done to address their issues, or, that the larger or broader audience was not engaged with them. So people pull back for different reasons. And even people who were not a member of that community pull back because they did not see where maybe the organization that we were serving was, really diverse and inclusive and looking for equitable solutions to everybody's problems.
Some of our participants, Doctor, would like to know, how do we effectively measure the impact of our voluntary service to the community and how important it is? Yeah.
Yes, and that, and that's a whole series in itself. And again, contact me in the chat box for more information. But as Rotarian Anusha, that I had the opportunity to work with, will tell you, I'm a lover of data analytics. I love data because you cannot measure your progress unless you have the information available to you. So I would suggest to people that, looking for, people within your community who have those skills and can do that, or, partnering with your local colleges and universities who understand how to measure things. And often, students in, universities, colleges are looking for research projects, and, or something a part of the schoolwork that they're doing. But you do have to have someone who's knowledgeable about how to collect the data and analyze it and then report it back out in a way that, the community understands what you're saying and your funders and others understand it. But you have to have that skill set available to you.
Yeah,
And I love talking about data. So anytime anybody want to reach out to me for some kind of crash course in data collection and analysis, I am available.
we will definitely take that offer on. We do have some of our members who are how to call lovers of data and data analytics.
Oh, great! Yes.
The question of building sustainability of any club, basically, they have limited means, the members have limited time, building the sustainability of the actions over time. Any sort of prescriptions you have, Doctor?
And I think that's similar to, any business environment or others. We talk about staying relevant. How do you continuously show that the work that you're doing is relevant to the community and the times that they're in? I mentioned one of the challenges about the, constantly changing communities. Demographics are changing, issues are changing. So one way is to remain relevant and to have really, you have to market it too, in, marketing the work that you do. Using, social media platforms, inviting the media, and, when you're hosting some kind of project or something. But it, for me, I think it is about continuing to show the community that the work you're doing is relevant for the current times and for what they're going through.
We have one question from a friend very far from, okay. How do we recognize the people who actually come in to help the community?
Hi, I'm hearing a baby sounds like. So how do you organize the people?
How you recognize?
And I think recognize them.
Yeah. Tech team, we're having some problem with Victor Hill.
And
yeah. Please.
As I mentioned, we're having this very reason. But I think, coming up with some of your own award programs and recognition programs, and doing that recognition, whether it's in at churches, at their, schools or universities. But I think that kind of a public recognition, it's something that you can create your own set of awards, to do that. Thinking about those things that are important to you.
Doctor, it's been so engaging. We're having so many questions coming along, but we do have to end this conversation. But whatever questions have been put in our chat box, we will send that to you for your views. And
yes.
through the good office of Anusha, we will definitely link up with you in our program. That sort of high-ended guidance would be much appreciated to a club like ours. So on behalf of all on behalf of President Bala, all the members of the Rotary Club and all the fraternity who are listening from 14 countries today, we will really sincerely thank you for joining us early morning from the States, and we really wish you a very good Sunday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. We now proceed on to the last part of our functions, which is basically fellowship. But before we move there, we would ask past director, Mr. Gullier Tumanagan, to do the summing up for us, please, Doctor.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. Good evening, good morning. Thank you to Dr. Hill and RI Directors Elizabeth and Urs for your great sharing. From readings and training programs we had while we were just building up our careers, what do we now pass on to the communities we serve? I think the people skills we learn from team building sessions are the most useful because fellowship is one of Rotary's core values. Self-awareness, mutual trust, and authentic friendship will hopefully develop and during the initial phase of program or project implementation. What lessons or wisdom from our personal, business, and Rotary life do we apply so that community leaders, young and old, will be equipped to optimize available resources and manage constraints? In Rotary, literacy in all or any of its forms, whether family literacy, media literacy, adult literacy, and others, is fundamental so that everyone, including Rotarians and Rotaractors, are on the same page. Awareness raising is the first step. To achieve lasting change and enduring peace, we have to think like development managers. Unlike in corporate strategic thinking, control and accountability does not rely on a few, but rests on the community. When we enter a community, we need a long-term perspective. When we start something today, how will it look like 10 to 15 years from now? When we do women empowerment, seminars on laws and rights, we have to be conscious that these women, ladies, child, are somebody's daughters, and they go home after the seminar to their husband and children and even parents. After Rotarians are gone, what Pandora's box did we open? Who will manage the adverse consequences after? How will the women intervene? Can they provide answer to simple questions just to make things better? When we apply for TRF grants, our experienced members would ask, did you budget for training of grassroots trainers, for transfer of technology, or system development, or for capacity building, and for how long? Change management expert taught us help extended to those who recognize the need for help. People support what they help create. Managers work on the system. Workers work in the system. To serve the community better, we need to keep vocational service alive and draw from the expertise of Rotarians and Rotaractors. We need to install a people performance system that is resident, friendly, ecologically sound, culturally sensitive, economically viable, plus it is Rotarizing and motivating. One such system is, as mentioned earlier by Dr. Hill, a community-based organization, Rotary Community Corps or RCC. This immediately communicates a long-term commitment, and the presence of Rotary will be hand-holding, enabling, accessible, and transformative. In planning for project implementation, we need all the basic knowledge we gain and are vital to empowering not just girls, but boys too. Empowerment is about choices that are values-led. It is grounded on self-respect and mutual respect. There should not be any gender bias. It is okay with you. I would like to share a very short empowerment module that I saw from a past president in our district. It serves as a learning lesson and it needs assessment for those who want to organize an RCC. This is the volunteer engagement strategy as mentioned by Dr. Hill. When she does this, it takes 30 minutes, only 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the extent of community participation. Standing in the middle of a basketball court, right under the sun, there were only a couple for the learning session. They came in trickles. And when there were 10 people, she started, the session ended with about 60 people. She introduces Rotarians as people who serve above self, using their competences and make decisions using the four-way test to the tune of children's folk song. She and her club members are participants singing and dancing with the tune of girls or boys music on the four-way test as the lyrics. What follows is a lecturette with questions so that participants are mentally active and be part owner of the project. So they are engaged and they'll be part of or owner of the project. Everyone has a brain and wants to use it. She will ask, agree or disagree. Brain scientists say that each one of us has 86 billion brain cells. It is okay to call you a billionaire? Then she will ask, billionaires start businesses. It's time to recognize the talents in the family and discover what business you can start with your brain. When you wake up each day feeling blessed to be alive, you have 1,440 as working capital. Yes, 1,440 minutes. What everyday activities can you earn? Or from there, typical answer will be washing clothes, cooking, marketing for somebody, tutoring a child. Then participants work on pairs, and in 3 or 4 minutes bus group, they identify non-economic resources at home. And they answer the question, within the next 2 weeks, what can you sell or rent out to generate working capital? It's pair in rotation, and then they present their answer. So they are now fully engaged. During these 3 or 4 minutes, other club members are observing the dynamics in the group. Then they will have another community singing, so they'll be engaged. They will be at ease, that they will be looking forward to the next session. What do you think the participant felt after investing 30 minutes of their time? Do you think that they will be able to have at least an idea of a home-based business that they can share in the next meeting? Was that a life-changing moment for them? Did we serve to change lives in that brief encounter? Such is the magic of Rotary, and you'll be amazed at the ideas and actions they will share in the next meeting. That is the Rotary Community Corps looking forward to everybody's participation in our RCC Expo next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Director. That was very inspiring, really, for doing the summing up and doing the honors for us. Ladies and gentlemen, the next Synergy Alliance Summit will be held in Philippines. This is called the first Synergy Summit to be hosted by Philippines. I'll ask Dr. Sundar to show us the clip on this, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, every good thing and every good moment comes to an end. May I now request past President Kanan for the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, PP Dev. Dear participants, to make this event a happening, President Bala and all the members of the Rotary Club of Flacq would like to heartily thank RI Director Elizabeth Usovic, RI Director Urs Clem, Past Director Gula Tumangan, Dr. Sharon Hill, PDG Sunil Zakaria, PDG Manoj Vagji, DG Dinesh Gajili, President Bala Sominaden, the Master of Ceremony, our dear PP Dev Chamru, Rotarian Dr. Sundar Mayalagan, Rotarian Anusha Rawa, members of the organizing committee, members of the Synergy Rotary Friendship Alliance family, Rotarians all over the world, friends, families, and colleagues attending this webinar. Thank you all for the immense contribution in making this event a very successful one. We all look forward to the next event in November 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, PP Kanan, but we also would like to acknowledge the contribution of DG Cindy Bachelier, DGE George Azar, DGN Sabina Kartner, DGE Krishna Kumar, DGE Rajendra Singh from India, DGE Walter Ebner, DGE DN Paddy, DGE Bling Garcia, DGN Dan Espinoza, DGN Shamsri Sen, DG Ronaldo Oyan, DG Shiva, DGN Lilian de la Cruz, DGN Levi's Tokentino, and DGN Narayan to come. Ladies and gentlemen, now I'll ask our president, Mr. Bala, for his address. Mute, you're muted. Could the technical team unmute President Bala, please? Yeah.
I think it's okay now.
Yeah.
Am I? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, PP Dave. So we've reached almost the end of this webinar, but believe me, a very important part is still to come, and it's going to come in the end. Today, I will see the opportunity given to me to invite you to come and visit our beautiful island, and of course, to visit the Rotary Club of Flacq during one of our weekly meetings on Thursdays. Like many countries around the world, the Mauritian economy suffered a lot due to the closure of its borders to protect its population due to the pandemic. Today, the borders are open and flights from many parts of the globe have resumed. There are no major restrictions, and especially no quarantine is required for travelers who are vaccinated and produce a negative PCR test done within the last 72 hours. So do come and enjoy our island. We're now going to show you a glimpse of the ambience on our island and the excellent fellowship among our members. This was the promise in my first invitation video to this webinar, because as you know, fellowship plays a very important part in Rotary. For now, I'll pass on to the MC for the continuation for you to see our fellowship part. Thank you.
Thank you, President Bala. The Rotary Club of Flacq is very notorious for its fellowship and hospitality. We're now presenting you a gift from all the members of the Rotary Club of Flacq. Please enjoy the Mauritian hospitality as presented by all the members of the Rotary Club of Flacq before we end. The session doesn't end here. We're going to be coming back to you. Can I ask the team to play us our souvenir parting gift, please?
Avant la battre l'ambiance, एको फट फटुआ किन देगे मोरा जान एको फट फटुए किन देगे मोरा जान तोर से हम तो नहीं मांगिला मोरा जान एको फट फटुए किन देगे मोरा जान एको फट फटुआ किन देगे मोरा जान एको फट फटुए किन देगे मोरा जान तोर से हम तो नहीं मांगिला मोरा जान एको फट फटुए किन देगे मोरा जान
Montant bizarre n'a descendant. Bye bye bye. Pas prier pour ta nouveau résultat. Bye bye bye. Pas qui connaît si motif parmi les loups. Bye bye bye. Les loups et Marie en vie bouge tout. Bye bye bye. La montant bizarre n'a descendant. Bye bye bye. Pas prier pour ta nouveau résultat. Bye bye bye. Pas qui connaît si motif parmi les loups. Bye bye bye. Les loups et Marie en vie bouge tout.
Thank you, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it was my absolute pleasure and honor to anchor the webinar today. The Zoom room still is open for anyone who would like to interact with our members. Please feel free. The chat room is open. But from our side, we like to wish you all goodbye from Mauritius, and we look forward to the next session coming up later next month. Thank you, and bye-bye for now. Thank you.
Congratulations. till I get out of this call. Get me out of this. I'm on a Zoom call. Mute, stop.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That was a
And thank
very
you very
well
much.
done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye from Austria. Thank you very much for the meeting.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Good job. Mauritius.
I
You
won't
from Nepal.
Thank you, Ashok.
Thank you. PDG Sunil Zakaria, thank you very much. You're a very, very nice person. And we've learned a lot from you. Thank you very much.
Do I cut it off right here?
Thank you. It was a wonderful experience knowing all about Mauritius also, and the empowering the girl children. I just spoke to Shekhar about the discussion today. He's very happy that you all did this program. He told me to personally let you all know. I'm from his district. I'm a past governor. I'm Shamustri Sen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are very honored by your presence.
You're welcome.
Thank you for wonderful session, sir. I'm from Maharashtra State, India, Rotarian Nagrati.
Thank you very much. You know, Mauritius is known as Little India overseas.
Gagana tayo pag bumisita tayo doon.
Thanks for wonderful presentation on Mauritius.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation and program. Jairai from Rotary Club of Dhulikhel, Nepal.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the program. Well done.
Thank you.
Namaste. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Namaste.
Thank you. It was really nice. Thank you. See you soon.
See you. Yeah.
Very much.
Thank you. See you soon. Right.
Nice presentation. This is Leelanath Sharma from RC Dili Bazaar, Kathmandu, Nepal. I am Ellen Sharma, RC Dili Bazaar, Kathmandu, Nepal. It is a very nice presentation. We enjoyed a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much and congratulations, the Rotary Club of Flacq. Mabuhay from the Philippines.